And also, I went to a bar show on Saturday and blew out one of my eardrums. So
Yeah, I heard about that. You gave yourself tinnitus.
Rough.
it hasn't come back yet.
Oh
So
no.
yeah, that's not good. I
Uh,
mean, I can sort of hear it's like being underwater,
Still? How many days has it been?
like two.
That's not good. You should see
They
it.
grow back.
They say it can take like days to weeks. So hopefully sooner rather than later.
You might want to go to a audiologist or a
I mean, I have one of those little things that looks near ear. I
What?
just need someone to. Yeah, I just have one of those.
what?
I just need someone who is able to look into my ear.
I was gonna say, how much expertise does it take to look in an ear? I feel like a lot.
I'm gonna go live because this is good content.
Okay.
Wait a second. You just have one of those things?
I guess it's not common to have those.
No.
Now
I
that I
certainly
say it
don't,
out loud.
Who gave you that?
Actually, I might, but only in virtue of my girlfriend
Yeah, your girlfriend medical training probably means
being
you
a
have,
doctor.
Yeah, you have more things in your house that like you probably have a stethoscope, I bet.
I'm not allowed to touch it, but it is in the house.
My mom has a stethoscope. My grandmother and my aunt are both nurses, so my mother just has stuff
Okay.
just by
Wait, but is that where this came
proxy.
from?
No. This
What?
came separately.
That's way more horrifying.
I don't know. Like, I got like a ear cleaning kit and it came in it.
Okay.
That's the
that's
full
better.
story, I guess.
But like, you can clean your own ears, but you can't look in your own ears.
Yeah.
Couples only.
Yeah, I guess.
It's
You
for a
need
very
An
specific
assistant.
kink. Boy, oh boy, I've just you know what? I'm glad that was the source. I was imagining you like walking into a pawn shop and there was just a loose
Ooh.
one of
Can I
those
have
ear
that?
things, and you're
Let me
like,
get
how
one
much
of
is
those.
that? I don't know, $12 and a loose ham. Now you just need to find a doctor who you could pay to use your weird ear device to tell you if your eardrums popped.
I have the thing. Can you just like look? I just need an extra set of eyes.
I don't think doctors look kindly on people bringing their own equipment.
I've got the stethoscope, and when you put it to my chest, it just goes hubba hubba.
Like, oh, you don't have to take me to the X-ray machine. I brought my own X-ray specs.
Yeah, please just look at me. Tell me my bones are beautiful. All right, that's enough tomfoolery. Let me do the countdown. We can get started.
Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up. Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are going to be discussing a game that's a long time coming, the Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars, in many ways the spiritual successor to Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood. And joining me, as always, to discuss Mario's antics, Mario expert Pete Busby. Hello.
Hello, hello. If there's one thing I love, it's corporations squeezing every penny of profitability they can from IP. It's one of my favorite things. This week's fun fact is about, Gino, it's one you actually might know already.
Oh, ooh,
It's
ooh.
about,
That's my favorite
about
kind of fun
rabbits.
fact.
yeah,
It's about rats?
this rabbits.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah. So this one's about rabbits. It's a short one, but I think it's a good one. So supposedly, from what I've seen, rabbits are the only mammals without paw pads. They just got more fur on the bottom of their feet.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly it's because their feet are built for strength and durability, and the fur provides extra cushioning. I don't know if that's true or not, but as far as I can tell, only mammals, no paw pads.
Yeah, and if you don't put bedding down, they will get calluses on their feet.
Yes,
Because
so-
it's just fur.
Yeah. Often people think that the rabbit's paws are fine. They're just like, oh, those are just their paw pads. No, it's usually a problem. Get your rabbit's feet checked out.
Yep, you need to definitely get them looked at. So I want to bring Em in, and then I've got a rat fact that I need the panel to
Ooh.
answer on. Hello, the other voice you may have heard earlier is the mistress of games, Game Maker M. Hello, M.
Hello. This game has been in the background for a long time, and we finally got to it. Hold on, I'm checking. We do not have a fun fact in the Discord for you, although there is Fat Bear Week.
Yeah, a lot of scandal this year, though.
What?
Is it?
Yeah,
Really?
there was a cheating scandal in Fat Bear Week.
What?
Did
How
someone
is that
fatten
possible?
a bear?
No, on the voting end. Supposedly somebody
Oh.
stuffed the ballot box.
Ooh.
I know.
If I can't trust the purity of Fat Bear Week, what can I trust the purity of?
Probably the best thing on the internet.
It is
Nothing
among.
is sacred anymore.
I love that the bears have names. So, brat fact that's not a fact so much as a question about decorum. I was at a public event recently. It was like a local event, and I noticed a man walking by me, kind of touching at his shoulder, and when I looked, he had a rat on his shoulder, just kind of there,
Just riding around?
just perched like a parrot.
Sure.
And it was like a street
Yeah.
festival, and he was just walking around with his shoulder rat.
Outdoor?
Outdoor.
Okay.
But there were food trucks.
Hmm.
What do we think this is acceptable?
Were dogs welcome at the festival?
Yes.
Then yes, I deem it acceptable.
Okay, shoulder rat is okay alongside dog.
Yes. If you're going to open it up to pets, you have to expect a shoulder rat here or there.
Mhm.
It's just going to happen.
Every once in a while. Yeah.
That's fair.
Did the rat have a little vest on that was like working rat? Don't interact.
No, it was not a rat for the blind.
Okay. Not a
It's not a service rat.
and it was
Maybe an
not
emotional support rat.
it was not on his head piloting him like Ratatouille.
Not that I could tell, though. The only things I could say about the rat are that it was surprisingly okay with being on this man's shoulders, and it had gigundous testes.
Two most
Sure.
important things to know about a rat.
Yep. All right, so with that out of the way, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And also, we've been raising money for the National Network of Abortion Funds, so if you're in a position to do so, please do donate. And if you were to join the Patreon, though, you would get access to the Discord, which might put you on the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord, we've started a fantasy basketball league.
We have.
How did that go? We drafted.
We drafted. The teams are, we've got 12 teams, though 11 people, which is a problem. One person. So the draft, Em, how would you describe your draft strategy?
I drafted for the first 5 slots, and then I had to leave. So I set up a few names that I sort of recognized, and then I went on my way, and I left it up to fate.
Em, do you remember your starting 5?
I know I got LeBron.
Okay.
Let me.
I
can
thought you
look
just
at
drafted
it.
LeBron and then pieced.
No. I mean, I couldn't tell you the other 4 that I stayed for.
She's like, Russell Westbrook. We're set.
I don't.
No,
I
think
don't know
you
who that
picked
is.
John
That was a basketball
Morant,
joke. Don't worry about it.
John Morant, Klay Thompson, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Kristaps Porzingis.
Ooh.
Those were probably the 5 that you picked before.
That's a
auto
good draft.
took over.
Is it?
That's a good draft. You got a little
Oh,
positional
okay.
overlap there, but you can sort that out.
Yeah, it's a fine
Sure.
team. Your team is fine. The teams that were not fine. So Jeff, a host of Off the Deep End, made a rule for himself that he could only draft players with some sort of association with the greater Northwest.
So like Portland players or something?
Portland,
That's very specific.
former Supersonics, people who have lived in Seattle or Portland.
How much
or
research did he do?
a lot. He just kept DMing me on Discord over like the weeks leading up to the draft saying that he hates me. That he had many spreadsheets, and these spreadsheets
Oh,
were going to be
no.
the death of him.
As if you imposed this restriction upon him.
Yes, and he was like, "Look, I know as much about basketball as you now," and I said, "No, you merely inherited the darkness. I was born in it, molded by it. I am the spreadsheet. So yeah, because he only was allowed to pick players from the Greater Northwest, he first picked Damian Lillard. Then his lineup: DeJounte Murray, who's from Seattle; Zach LaVine, who's I believe from Portland; Michael Porter Jr., who's from Seattle; Jeremy Grant, who plays for the Trailblazers; Jaden McFadden, who I think is from Seattle; Yusuf Nurkic plays for Portland; Kevin Love from Portland; CJ McCollum played for Portland; Anthony Simons plays for Portland; Brandon Clark from Vancouver; Isaiah Stewart, I don't know how he's related. I think he's from like Portland or Seattle. And then Josh Hart plays for Portland. So if Portland goes in the tank, he's very screwed. His whole draft strategy really hinged on him getting Kevin Durant or Domantas Sabonis, and that just didn't happen for him. So he had to reach on like all of these players.
Yeah, not a great squad.
No, he's basically got the Portland Trailblazers plus a few guys, and they're not a very good team. So he did that. ZP predictably overdrafted Sacramento Kings players. We had one person who was microing between two teams, so they would log out of Yahoo and then log back in as the other team, and ended up drafting two separate teams, which I see you, Bob, in the McAdoos. You're made of lies. And
I did notice that.
Good name, though.
Yes. We also appreciate that one of our listeners who is not a fan of Ben Simmons, he is a fan of the 76ers, but is not a fan of Ben Simmons, named his team
Who
Ben
is?
Simmons' Feelings. And got Ben Simmons, which was very funny. And then the rest of the teams were all pretty good. Braden, host of Off the Deep End, his team was Braden's group of tall men, and he started just picking people based on the sincerity of their smiles. Which I appreciated.
Sure.
Yeah, so that went well. The NBA season starts tomorrow when we're recording this, so we'll find out who did a good job drafting their teams.
I have some guesses of who did a good job.
We'll find out. I didn't end up with half of the players I wanted, but I just was like, well, this guy's still around. I guess I need to take him. Like my first pick was Luka, and then my second pick was LaMelo, just because he was still around, and I was like, that seems dumb. And then I got Drew Holiday, Josh Giddey, Cam Johnson, Pascal Siakam, Wendell Carter Jr., Jonas Valanciunas, P.J. Washington, Paolo Banchero. Got to get the Italian American quotient up. Alexei Pokusevski, because that's just funny as hell. What positions do you think Alexei Pokusevski's ranked in?
Oh God, I have no idea.
He's small forward, power forward, and center.
They gave him all three?
They gave him all three.
Wow.
This
All
is
right.
great. Kevin Herter and Benedict Mathern. It's my team. So I feel good about my team. I don't love it, but look, you got to take the value. And the fact that I ended up with LaMelo and Luka, I think it bodes well. Especially because we're playing Roto. So with that, I don't know that there's too much else going on in the Discord. We're working on Extra Life plans. That's going to come up soon in a couple of weeks. I think it's November 8th or something. It's early November.
Oh,
I'll need to look up when Extra Life game day is, but we're plotting things. I'm learning how to ingest video into my OBS, so that's fun. And yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Em, anything else going on in the Discord you need to shout out?
Nah. I
Okay.
think we're good.
In that case, I'm going to bop over to my obsession of the week. And this
What you got
week,
for us, Gino?
I went to a local movie festival, a horror film festival. And let me just tell you, if you can go support a local movie film festival, do it, because you never know what's going to show up. I saw a film that was described as a slasher movie starring an evil fisherman, and it was very good. It was called Slaughter Beach.
Great title.
It was a great title, and it was an hour and 10 minutes or so, and the number of elaborate ways they had a fisherman kill random teens was incredible. It was very funny. It's not out anywhere except if you can find it at a film festival, but it was very funny. I enjoyed it. We saw 3 films. It was like an all-day sort of festival, but they did it in blocks, and so we only caught some of it, but Some movies were trying to be legitimate horror movies. Some movies were trying to be funny. And I appreciated the mix for sure. So if you can, go. You never know where a local film festival is, and you never know what you're going to find. So support your local film scene. Yeah, without further ado, let's discuss Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars. Em, could you describe for the listeners what Super Mario RPG is?
So, Super Mario RPG is a role playing video game developed by Square, who you may have heard of, published by Nintendo for the NES, the Super NES, in 1996. If you know Mario, if you have seen a video game in the last 30 years, it's basically if you put Mario in an RPG, kind of like a Final Fantasy. That's about as succinct as I can explain it.
Yeah.
Mario is trying to defeat a bad guy who is not Bowser, Smithy, who has crashed into the world and stolen 7 star pieces of Star Road, scattered them around the world, and you go around with your party of characters to collect those star pieces and eventually get Bowser's castle uninhabited by this sword guy. Accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say so.
Princess Peach. I mean, it starts with your standard Princess Peach getting kidnapped, but then spirals out into kind of this larger quest. This was a collaboration between as well at that time Squaresoft, the Final Fantasy people, and Nintendo. So it is a very RPG-ass RPG. And it stars Mario and some original characters, some fan favorites. So starting off, how did you feel the game blended the Mario gameplay with a JRPG, Pete?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because like Mario isn't combat oriented, but it had the pieces there. There's jumps, there's shells. Like I don't think anybody like picks up this game because they're like, I really love platforming. You know what I mean? So I think it did fine, I guess. Fine.
Yeah, it's so like mechanically, it is a regular turn-based RPG. Like your characters get to act based on their speed. You attack by, you can press the attack button. You've got spells that you can cast that use flower points. You also have items that you can use. And the game has a timing mechanic a la Eternal Sonata or what are some other... I mean, Paper Mario, if you played some of the more popular or more recent Mario RPGs. There's a timing mechanic where you press the attack button, and then if you press it again at the right time, you get extra damage. And this is one of the first RPGs, I think, to use that mechanic. It's definitely the first Mario RPG, so it's a pretty seminal moment for kind of that specific mechanic. How did you feel it was implemented, Em?
So having played, I think it was Mario and Luigi, like those.
Superstar Saga?
Yeah, Superstar
Good
Saga
game.
is the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Having played that one, this is definitely the prototype to that.
Yeah, for sure.
In Superstar Saga, there's like a little bit more like things to indicate when you need to hit the button in order to like do your super effects. Every weapon in the game has a like timing element to it where if you press the button at the right time, the animation changes and you do more damage. So let's say, like if you were to jump on an enemy as the most basic form of this, you would jump and then when you impact with their head, you hit the button again and then you do like another jump and do more damage. So stuff like that is kind of what you're looking for in combat in order to get the most damage each time you attack. So without any like flashing lights or a tone, I guess, it's a little bit harder, but I think there's a little bit more leeway given on this one, compared to like Superstar Saga, where it's kind of like you have to hit it at exactly the right time. It feels like this one is like a little bit more generous in that respect. So I didn't mind it.
I also didn't notice. So in Superstar Saga, you get penalized if you screw it up. I didn't notice any penalties here for missing.
Yeah,
No.
I don't.
It's binary. Either you get the bonus or you don't. There's no like super fail or something. So there's no risk. You want to do it every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say the animations tend to be fairly intuitive about when you're supposed to click. Like if Mario is going to swing his hammer right before you hit with the hammer, you get the bonus. If he's going to kick a Koopa shell, like right before the Koopa shell like lands in front of him, that's where you kick it. It varies. It definitely varies from weapon to weapon because you're going to see different animations and they'll each have their own unique timing. But I think the game does a pretty good job without that indicator of still being playable. Like you could still hit those criticals more often than not.
Yeah, the only thing that I was slightly disappointed in from a combat perspective is I felt, maybe I'm being greedy, I felt that the game was a little stingy with its playable characters. I mean, the Mario roster, they have enough for entire fleets of soccer players and golfers and tennis pros. And I only got 3 canonical Mario characters to play with. A little upset.
Well, you need to add some new characters because, the original roster, you start with Mario. Then you get introduced to Mallow, a Cloud Beast.
Marshmallow Man.
He's a little cloud boy. But he thinks he's a tadpole.
He thinks he's a tadpole.
Controls the weather.
Yep.
Controls the weather, does not find that weird.
When he cries, it rains.
And then
it's fine.
I think personally the best named character in the Mario universe, Gino, a puppet who is possessed.
Is it Gino?
I mean, look,
Gino?
In English, you're probably going to pronounce it Gino. In
I was
Japanese,
Geno.
it's probably Geno.
Oh, yeah, probably is Geno in Japanese.
It's either Geno or Geno, depending on which kanji they went with, katakana they went with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, in English, Gino, he's a puppet. He's possessed by a star, I guess. He's a haunted puppet who fights with you, who basically explains what the situation is. Because when Smithy, the giant sword, crashed into Bowser's lair, he knocked bits of star off of Star Road, and that prevents all wishes from being granted until you get the 7 stars back. So Gino is rolling with you to try and save them, to try and get the stars.
Can I ask, too, so like this bit of canon confused me insofar as like I never really knew why Mario was collecting stars. Are they like they're wish granting? Is that the thing?
Yeah, so there's a road. Basically what happens is stars are up on Star Road, and when a wishing star is going to fall down and grant a wish, it goes down Star Road and then it falls. But because of the stars falling out of this road, the stars can't get to the ground, so they can't grant wishes.
So I get that in the context of Super Mario RPG.
Yes.
What I'm asking is, when I play Mario 64,
yes,
are those still wish-granting stars?
I don't think so. I think that's just canon in Legend of the 7 Stars.
So, like, Mario just collects them because he needs a doodad to collect, basically.
Yes. Though, if you want to take this canon and apply it across all Mario games, more power to you. Think that Mario's just granting wishes. He's just out here every day trying to grant wishes of little children's. And that's why he has to get to the end of this platforming level.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, don't you feel like your wish is granted every time you get a star in Mario Kart?
I feel like my wish is granted every time I get to the end of a platforming level.
Exactly.
When it's over.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of platforming, this game is... We've talked about the RPG portion of it, and we didn't mention, but like the combat in this game, when you run into enemies, it's kind of Chrono Trigger-esque. The enemies are on screen, and so it's not random battles. Like once you defeat an enemy, it stays gone for as long as you're in the dungeon. You can pick out enemies. But the overworld is a isometric platformer because you're Mario. You can run, you can jump. Those are kind of the two buttons. But it expects you to do Mario things. Jump and hit I mean, it's not a block. It's usually a treasure chest. But it expects you to do platformy things. How did you feel the platforming played?
Well, not great. I didn't mind it so much. Like, it's weird, especially because of the camera angle. Like, the isometric thing is just strange, especially considering this is on the SNES, which you have a directional pad, and the north, south, east, west orientation does not coincide with the directions on the isometric thing. You have to sort of be pressing two buttons each time you are moving.
Yeah, it's diagonals all the way.
Yeah, it's a little odd. I don't know. Seems like maybe you could just map it to, moving up is north, but that's beside the point. The platforming is finicky. Like, it's hard to tell where the foreground and background is most of the time. Like, there are a bunch of mini games. One of the earliest ones is when you are going down a river, and there are coins to collect, which you have to jump to get. And that was like going very fast, and you have to jump to get the coins, but there's 2 layers of coins, so it's hard to see when you are supposed to jump just because they're kind of on top of each other. So that was when I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, lining up
wasn't my favorite.
Anytime I had to line up a jump with a treasure chest, and I was on a moving platform, or the treasure chest was at a weird angle, it basically felt impossible. It felt like dumb luck if I ever hit it. And that's just kind of a bummer, right? Like, the isometric perspective, Mario is also kind of squirrely, and he has different jump lengths depending on whether you're running or not. So it's not like you can just take it slow and then do the jump. You have to hold down the run, which makes him extra squirrely. It feels like a Mario game that was made by Sonic Team in some ways.
That's heresy.
Right? Like, that's a bad thing.
The stream should never cross.
Yeah, it made... Basically, every single time I had to do the platforming sections, it made me frustrated. Thankfully, a lot of the platforming, like the more intense platforming, just gets you optional items or bonuses. It doesn't actually get you plot-critical stuff. But it's a bummer every time you do it.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Gino. I thought M was being pretty generous. But I will defend one piece of platforming. This is true in every game I've ever played, but adding mine carts instantly makes things significantly better. And my only question is whether or not Super Mario RPG predates Donkey Kong Country.
We could check this.
Does.
Yeah, I easily could have looked it up, but now it occurs to me that I didn't.
Donkey Kong Country came out before. It was in 1994.
Oh, damn. Well, that explains
also on the Super Nintendo.
That explains the art style, because this game also did... Is it rotoscoping? Is that the technique? I forget the technique that this uses, because this game looks kind of like... It's a little claymation-y. It's very like early CG looking, instead of trying to go for pixel art. So this is a game that is... It looks incredibly dated by modern standards, because pixel art, for some reason, is viewed as classic, but all of these games that went for early kind of CG models but put through a Super Nintendo just kind of look like butt.
I thought,
to use a technical term,
I thought as far as games in this genre at this time, I played worse. I think this is passable.
Oh,
by
totally.
modern standards.
It's
not great, but it's all right.
I think it's very telling when we're now like 25 plus years removed from this game and games like it, like Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, having been released. It's telling that no one has gone back and tried to make an up-resed version of this or like a bespoke version of this art style, right? Like someone with nostalgia and an art degree and a modern computer would probably go back and revisit this if anyone thought it was appealing.
Yeah, they're not making, the Half-Life remakes in whatever the modern Half-Life is, because those games are rough to go back to. This is like charming in its
or
own
even
way.
like the Swords and Sorcery version where it's like, oh, it's pixel art, but we did it cooler because we've got more frames of animation and we've got more time and craft put into this than a Super Nintendo could have rendered,
Yeah.
No one goes back and does, what if Super Mario RPG was 4K?
I mean, if they did, Nintendo would have them assassinated.
That's
for
fair.
one.
That's
Do
fair.
you think, like, Gino, I take your point about the graphics. I mean, it makes sense. But do you think it's like just the graphics? Or do you think people don't revisit this because the dirty secret is it's not very good?
Well, I will say I think the timing-based combat here is better than in some other games. Like, I think this is better than The Legend of Dragoon, for example, when it comes to timing attacks. I think it's more forgiving than Eternal Sonata because it's kind of an easy RPG. It's not trying to tax you that hard.
I mean, the plot makes more sense than Eternal Sonata, too.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that charm.
Nothing's ever going to come close to Dying Breaths of Chopin.
Yep. No, you may.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that this game has. It's a little bit simpler. I think that the stakes are a lot lower because it's a pretty straightforward RPG. It's not that difficult. I don't know. I found this game charming, right? Like there's a lot of bits.
Yeah, there's jokes.
Like comedic bits.
Like Booster. Booster's a pretty funny guy.
Booster's great. Tell me about Booster.
He's a
Pete.
weird guy.
Booster's sort of like proto Wario. I guess this is post Wario though. So like he's sort of just shabby Wario. So he takes over some castle. I don't know. And he's trying to marry Peach.
Yeah, Peach falls into his tower.
Yes.
And he's just like, "You're the first woman I've ever met. Let's get married."
Like presumably how regular Mario, I guess he wants to marry Peach. I don't know. He's had a lot of time to do it if he wanted to. But yeah, Boost is just sort of hapless, doesn't really know what he's doing, but Booster gets his happy ending after all.
Yeah, I mean, Booster having the segment where you're hiding behind some like window pane, some drapes, and Booster is talking about how he needs to do a wedding rehearsal, but he's looking for a Mario doll to help him do the wedding rehearsal. And so he sends people one at a time to look behind the curtains, and you have to hide behind the curtains. I enjoy that a lot. I enjoy Booster's weirdness. I like that he's got pictures of his family, and they're like a secret way to enter the like a hidden room. There's a lot of good stuff.
Booster's a good bit. Fat Parrot's a good bit. I forget Fat Parrot's name.
One of the bits I found was would you believe that there are some hidden items if you just like click around? Like you don't open up, every barrel. You don't have to click on every barrel, but I did find one hidden item by just clicking A in the right spot. In Princess Peach's chambers at the beginning of the game, I like clicked near her throne or like on one of the walls, and guess what Mario found?
I don't want to be wrong.
He found Peach's Unmentionables.
Does it actually say Peach's Unmentionables?
I don't think it says Unmentionables. It's heavily implied because her like the toad who hangs out in her room is like, "You put that down right this second. I'll give you this if you put it down." And then I think you get like a flower point or something. Like you get an item.
The toad is also clearly a pervert.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Just hanging out in her room.
Yeah, just hanging out in Peach's room all day long.
Yep.
I would have guessed that, but it seemed like it was too mature for Super
Look,
Mario RPG.
Look, Super Mario RPG is weirdly horny, I would say. Like, you find
True,
those.
there's a kissing scene.
There's a kissing
true.
scene. There's when you go to the Toad Village the first time, there's two Toads who are like, "We're gonna get married, Mario," and then there's a Toad who's like, "Mario, wait till I get older and we can get married." And then you find Peach's Unmentionables. There's an entire section where you're in a cathedral, and like two Toads are trying to get married, but also Booster is trying to get married. Yeah, it's weird in some spots. People hit on Mario. They like the stash.
I mean, who doesn't?
To be fair, it is Mario. You would
That's
too.
true. Like if your choice is like if you were Princess Peach and your choice is like a big scary dinosaur turtle, Mario, or a bunch of tiny toadstool people, like
Mhm.
you'd be horny for Mario too.
I choose the human.
Till
Yeah.
Luigi came along.
He is taller.
Tall drink of water right there.
Yep. Yeah. Other good bits. I like that Mario doesn't speak. He's a silent protagonist.
Just pantomimes.
But
Yep.
his pantomime game is
He's
strong.
very, very good at it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good cutscenes of him pantomiming like multi-sequence events, which is pretty good. Yeah, I think that this game, it holds up. The mechanics are definitely repetitive. It doesn't have a ton of depth to its RPG mechanics. It has a surprising number of status effects, I guess, like Scarecrow and Mushroom.
Or just
Sure.
scared.
Or Scared, yeah.
Hmm.
Mushroom, you can't take actions, but you heal every turn. Scarecrow, you can't attack, but you can cast magic. Scared, I think you just do less damage.
It halves your attack and defense.
Yeah, and then there's poison. And then there's some I don't know that elemental weaknesses came up. You have elemental attacks. I think there are elemental weaknesses, though,
Probably
for
something.
enemies. And then, you've got your character classes. So the total roster is Mario, Gino, Mallow. Those are your first three. Gino's a damage dealer who can also do buffs. Mallow is a healer and a magical damage dealer. Mario is just a magic and or physical damage dealer. Then you get Princess Toadstool. She's not Peach yet, and she's a healer. And then you get Bowser, who is a damage dealer and kind of a tank. He's got a ton of physical defense and HP. And debuffer, a little bit of a debuffer. So, it's a pretty solid rotation. Not that many characters, but gets the job done.
Who'd you guys run with? I went with Mario, soon to be Peach, and Bowser. Classic crew.
Mm.
Once I got the full roster, it was Mario. I switched between Mallow and Peach, and then Bowser.
Well, I went with Mario because you have to.
Yep.
Peach, when she was available. Once she was available, I ran mostly with her. And then my namesake, I had to run with Gino. How could I not?
Of course.
Obviously.
He's got buffs. What else could you want? He shoots guns. I don't know.
I just felt like he didn't hit very hard compared to everybody else.
See, every time you level up, you get the option of like 3 bonuses: a physical attack bonus, an HP bonus, or a magic attack bonus. If you just min-max and just shove all of your points into attack or magic attack, depending on whether it's a magical character or a physical character, you can get pretty much anyone hitting pretty hard.
That's true. And it does seem to have like diminishing returns once you invest pretty heavily. Like it goes up like 2 or 3 the first couple of levels, and then it's like just 1 after that. So you could do. I pretty much leveled everybody out, I think.
Oh, I min-maxed. I just went,
Yeah.
okay, Gino, you will only ever get physical attack. Mario, you will only ever get physical attack. Peach, you will only ever get magic. Mallow, you will only ever get magic.
Yeah, I was trying to do that, and then I was like, you can have a little bit, because
You can have a little
eventually,
taste.
eventually it got to the point where it was like, do you want 1 attack, or do you want like 3 magic attack? I was like, you can have a little bit.
You can have a taste.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much diversity in the characters. There's only 5 characters. They only have so many abilities. And the flower point system, I think it's kind of interesting that your MP is bracketed both by you leveling up and also like just finding the flowers in the world. Like some treasure chests will have flowers, some missions will give you flowers. Some of the side quests and kind of mini games will reward you in flowers. So you can have drastically more magic if you're good at the mini games.
Yeah. Did you like that or not like that?
I didn't like it because I was bad at the mini games, but I could
fair.
imagine if you were good at the mini games, you would love it. But yeah, like I found it interesting. I've never seen MP tied to like it's a shared pool of flower points for all of your characters, and it will go up pretty drastically depending on whether you're good at chasing down Peach when she's being carried by Booster, or
I really like that one.
yeah, it's very good. Or like if you're good at the mine carts, like Pete said, you get more flower
Love
points.
the mine carts.
I was very bad at the mine carts.
I was too. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, and there's also like instead of having checking every barrel and pressing A, there are a bunch of hidden treasure chests that are just kind of, if you jump in the right spot, you get a treasure. And I think some of those have flowers as well. They mostly have just like the most ridiculous healing items you've ever seen.
Or they have frog coins, which is
Yeah.
a different currency, which gets you special stuff from the tadpoles. Or there's a frog in one town, which has like really good stuff, but I don't know how I can afford any of that because it's all like 20 and up for one thing.
Yeah, you need to find like a lot of the hidden chests and stuff.
Yep.
There's a lot of secrets in this game.
Yeah.
This
There's a lot to do.
This game must have made Nintendo a ton of money when the Nintendo hint line was a thing.
Oh yeah.
They get it. Here's that brings me to my question though, right? And here it is. Who is this for? Right? So like I'll rephrase the question. If you were just a fan of JRPGs and not a fan of Mario, would you ever pick up this game? I know that's a very thin Venn diagram, but
I think this game has a lot of cachet now, and it was made by Squaresoft kind of at the peak of their powers or close to it. So you might have picked it up just as a JRPG fan. I think that it holds up relatively well. It's not incredible, like it's not Chrono Trigger, it's not Final Fantasy VI or something, but it's in the upper echelon, I think, of JRPGs. Like it's probably in the upper 70%. So I would still recommend this before I recommend, I don't know, a bad Tales game or like Legend of Dragoon.
or Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
Yes, I would definitely recommend this before I recommend Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood.
I will say, compared to basically any of those games, this is a much lower time investment.
Yeah.
True.
Like, I think the maximum was like 25 hours, and that's like starting a Tales game.
You'd have to commit to, like, if you wanted to put 25 hours into this, like, you'd have to work at it.
That's like doing everything. That's 100%ing it. Which, you know, for a RPG, I don't really want to spend an entire lifetime playing it. Not in my old age. But
Not with these bones.
yeah.
But
just,
yeah,
just tight experience. That's what we want.
it's a tight experience and it's a diverse experience. Like there's a music mini game where you need to play music for Dostoevsky, which is great. You've got all of these weird mini games. You've got this platforming stuff, which I don't necessarily appreciate how it plays, but I appreciate the idea of having this diversity of experience where it's half platformer, half RPG.
There's like a quick couple of puzzles too. You know, you got to play like a little, like, you know, that peg game where you have to like jump the pegs.
Yeah.
You do a little bit of that.
Yeah, you got to play the thing that's at Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, exactly. I
Find out
wasn't
if
sure if
you're an
everybody else was as
ignoramus.
familiar with Cracker Barrel as I was.
So if you're an international listener, there's a chain of restaurants in the United States that's haunted. It is both a general store and a down-home country. It's like a southern cooking thing,
Yeah.
like U.S. southern cooking. So there's just lard and everything.
Exclusively exists along highways.
Yeah, as far as I can tell. And at every table at this hellish establishment is a peg board game where you have to jump like golf tees over each other, and it tells you based on how many tees are left whether you're an idiot or not.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I go to Cracker Barrel, really, to have my mental stamina evaluated.
I don't think I've been to a Cracker Barrel once.
Way to go.
You are
Entire
missing
life.
out.
Where
Gold
else are you
star.
going to get a rocking chair and a DVD of Elvis's greatest hits and a chicken fried steak?
And like the
Yeah.
weirdest Turkish delights you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, yeah. Those rocking chairs are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
They do ship them, though, which I find is a good touch because you're on a highway going somewhere. That's the only reason you're at a Cracker Barrel.
This is a rest stop. I can't bring a rocking chair with me, thank you.
You know, I would love to meet someone who takes their like pickup truck, goes to the Cracker Barrel, and just asks to see the rocking chairs. I feel like if you work at a Cracker Barrel and that happens, you have to call the police.
Clearly, it's some sort of degenerate.
Yes, this
They
monster.
came here on purpose. I don't.
The-
This is their destination. You don't understand, sir. This is a Cracker Barrel.
You stop here on your way to the real spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
so
sorry, what were we talking about on this podcast?
I think we were talking about mini games. I think,
Oh, yeah.
and how much variety there is. And yeah, I mean, I think that this game has it's got a lot going on. So I think you could definitely do worse as an RPG, and you could definitely do worse as a platformer. Bubsy exists. You can in fact do worse as a platformer. So I think this game holds up. It's got some good bits. Story wise, it's a lot of like bits
A lot of
more
nonsense.
than
Yeah, I mean, there's like, you go down to like the sea and you meet like a Shark King. You go
Jonathan
to Marshmallow's,
Jones.
like Jonathan Jones, my man. You go to Marshmallow's Cloud Kingdom. Like, it's a lot of just like discrete, like you said, bits.
Yeah, you find Yoshi, and Yoshi is crap at racing, and so you have
Yeah,
to
there's
teach him via rhythm game how to beat Boshi, the evil Yoshi who's got sunglasses.
There's a T-Rex with a top hat.
He steals from you.
Yep.
Yeah, and
And
I mean,
chase him around multiple times.
the villains in this game, I will say, are uninspired. Like Smithy's gang, which are all animated weapons. Like one of them's a bow that's got a face named Bowyer. I didn't love those folks.
No. The Axe Gang was okay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of them, and some of
There's so
them
many.
aren't great. They're all animated weapons. They talk, kinda.
I think there's a reason they never show up in any future Mario games.
Yes, there's a reason why you don't fight Boomer or Bowyer or Exor in any of the other games, for sure. Frog Fuchsius needs to show up in more games, though. The old wise frog.
Frog Fuchsius is a character.
You know, I was just, while we're on the subject of Nintendo intellectual property,
Yes.
one thing I wonder about Nintendo a lot is, let's say they made a decision, we're never releasing new games again. We're exclusively releasing remakes from here to the end of time.
Okay.
How long do they remain a profitable company?
Just remake?
Just, they're exclusively making like updated ports of old games.
You know, a lot of people bought the Super Nintendo Classic,
They did.
so I think they could get another 10 years out of it, maybe.
Do they still
Probably
sell
at max.
consoles? Do they still have third parties on their consoles?
No, so they still make consoles because they want better graphics, but that's it. Like it's just better graphic. Like pretty soon Mario's like photorealistic.
Oh, horrifying.
But that's all they do.
Played by Chris Pratt, of course.
Italian American hero Chris Pratt.
Ugh. Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
It's me, Chris Pratt.
Did you see the trailer for this, Pete?
No, not yet.
The new movie? Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Let me answer your question first, and then we can table that and get to the Chris Pratt of it all later. I think that they probably remain solvent, like Em says. Do they get to sell merch?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, I'm going to say, 10, 20 years for sure. They
then
can
they'll
coast
never
on
die.
merch, and yeah.
I think it would really lower probably their overhead too. Like they don't have to as much, pay devs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Now, the Chris Pratt of it all. So you need to look
Oh, boy.
at the trailer. Just watch the end, because Chris Pratt, in his run-up to this godforsaken movie, that, you know what? I wish them well. I hope that it turns out fine. Charlie Day's a nice man. He deserves to be paid. He's Luigi.
See, here's my thing with
Also not Italian.
also not Italian.
No shit.
Here's the thing with the trailer. It's almost like they're embarrassed of his voice that he used for Mario because of how little they actually use him in the trailer. They have a very long sequence with Bowser, who's
Jack Black.
played by Jack Black, and is very good. He could do no wrong in that role. And then they go to Mario, and he just kind of looks around and is amazed. And then a Toad is like, "Come on!" And then he runs off and says one line.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come.
Yeah.
Does he try? He tries to sound Italian.
I'm doing it as best as I can. That's kind of how he sounds.
He sounds like he's trying to be from Brooklyn, trying to... Also, it's worth noting, this movie is an isekai, which is an interesting
Mario's
choice.
an isekai.
Yes, but, if you think of Mario, do you think of, the Mario movie that was live action, that was,
Yes.
actually two plumbers from Brooklyn?
That's
Or do
all
you
I
think
think
of-
of.
He just lives in the Mushroom Kingdom, and he is a plumber.
They went for verisimilitude, and they were like, "This is too gritty. Can't have this anymore."
I need to watch the Mario movie so bad.
Oh man, we should do a riff tracks on that.
We should someday. We'll put that on the list.
Yeah.
I have a theory about Jack Black too. I'm
Yes.
gonna share it with you all now. My theory on Jack Black is his presence in a movie is sort of like a bell curve. Like the movie gets better with more Jack Black until it reaches too much Jack Black and then completely just nosedives.
So you think School of Rock, that is probably too much Jack Black?
That is too much Jack Black. But The Holiday, perfect amount of Jack Black.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a rom-com he's in. It's very good.
That sounds
yeah.
right.
Sure.
Like Nacho Libre.
Too
Wait,
much.
that's 6 movies worth of Jack Black.
So many Jack Blacks. That's
You
how
want-
we're gonna rate movies from now on. How many
Yeah.
Jack Blacks is it?
That's an inverse scale. One Jack Black. Wow, that's a pretty good movie.
That's all right.
You want the appropriate amount of Jack Black is a movie featuring Jack Black. If it says
Yes.
featuring Jack Black, great. If it says starring Jack Black, stay
I'm
away.
out. Yeah, I'm done.
So I think the end of this game it ends. You kill Smithy. You restore the Star Bridge. Everyone gets their wishes granted. I don't think there's any great story beat that we necessarily need to unpack. But Em, why don't you ask the question? What if there was
What if
a lot
there
of-
was?
great depth? Because Pete, Em posited some tough questions to an
this.
AI to generate some words.
Deep Listens is here for the tough questions.
So
And I need you, Professor Pete. You have English, you have literature training, you have been a
I do.
TA before.
I've
We
been
need-
a teacher.
We need you to grade these prompts and how they were written by the computer.
Okay, so I have asked an AI that generates just articles. Like you might find, I don't think you would look intentionally for any of these articles, but you would probably find them. Let's pick a good one. Okay, I have to do the first one that I posted. A review of Super Mario RPG 3 Marxist Lens. I won't bore you with the recap of the mechanics and stuff. Through a Marxist lens, we can see how class struggle plays out in this beloved video game classic. For example, when Bowser kidnaps Princess Toadstool and attempts to marry her against her will, clearly an act of bourgeoisie oppression, our heroes must band together and use their individual skills, derived from their unique social position, to defeat him. In other words, only through collective action can those oppressed by capitalism hope to triumph over their oppressors.
I mean, it's very Marxist. So like,
Yeah.
it definitely delivers on what it's promising.
Okay.
And I'm genuinely impressed that the words all make sense. Like
Well-
if I'd been given this by one of my freshmen, this would be an above average paper.
Mhm.
It's gibberish. Don't get me wrong, but it's better gibberish than I usually get.
Okay, all right. Here's another Marxist one. When looking at Super Mario RPG 3 Marxist lens, it is clear that the game is a product of capitalism. The developers, Square Enix, are motivated by profit rather than art or creativity. This can be seen in the way that the game borrows heavily from other games in the series, such as Super Mario World, without adding anything new or innovative to the genre. Additionally, Marxists would argue that because Square Enix seeks to make a profit off this game, they have no incentive to create an enjoyable experience for the players. As such, many elements of the game they feel are unnecessary or poorly implemented. How do you feel about that?
So I feel like this one was right for the first like two sentences.
Huh.
Like this this is definitely a game for profit. I think it's true but mean,
Okay.
which
True.
is one of the best things. You know, I'm impressed by the quality of this AI. This must have been like ripped straight from Google. That one that guy said was sentient or whatever.
Yeah. All right. Let's change it up. Let's go from
This does say, sorry, one more
Yes.
thing. This does point out too how formulaic Marxist analyses are.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, you can just do it about
Capitalism
anything.
bad. Yep.
Mhm. You see, it is bad because capitalism
Yep.
exists.
Again,
Had you
true,
considered
But
that
easy.
it made profit
Mhm.
and therefore it is bad?
Therefore, it is evil. But the dialectic.
Uh-huh. Of course. I have one here that is Jungian
Oh
psychology.
dear Lord.
Can be applied to many different aspects of life, including video games. When looking at Super Mario RPG through a Jungian lens, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Okay. We can see that there are several archetypes at play within the game. These include, but are not limited to, the hero, Mario, the mentor, Toadsworth, the shadow, Bowser, and the trickster, Gino.
What is
Each
the
archetype,
shadow?
Bowser,
Clearly.
Bowser,
Yeah.
duh.
obviously.
She just
I mean-
read it to you.
I probably feel like it should be what's his face, the guy who looked
Booster.
the guy Booster, yeah, the guy who is Mario's shadow. Each archetype has its own set of characteristics which help shape how we view them within the context of this story. For example, heroes are often seen as brave and selfless individuals who fight for what is right, while shadows represent our darker impulses or desires that we may try to repress. By understanding these archetypes, we can better understand both ourselves and those around us, and also Super Mario RPG.
What a phenomenal ending. We can understand ourselves, society, and Super Mario are, the trinity of analysis. Again, just wonderful academic gibberish.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna give you the real bangers now.
Yes, the bangers.
The bangers. I thought this was gonna be the best one, but then I think the one after this is the best one. The story of Super Mario RPG can be interpreted as a metaphor for Christian salvation history. In the beginning, God created humans and gave them free will. However, they used their free will to disobey him and sin against him, represented by Bowser kidnapping Princess Toadstool. As punishment for their disobedience, humans were cast out of Eden, the Mushroom Kingdom, and separated from God's presence, represented by Peach being taken to another dimension. However, even though humans had sinned against God, he still loved them enough to send his son, Jesus Christ, into the world to die for their sins, so that they could have forgiveness and eternal life with him if they repent. This part of the story is represented by Luigi going back in time at great personal cost to rescue Peach before she was kidnapped. I don't think that happens.
It does not. If somebody wrote this, if I was somebody's teacher and they wrote this for me, I would send them to the guidance counselor. I'd be like, I'm a mandatory reporter. You need to go get help.
Oh, fuck.
Not an A then. It's not
No.
an A.
God. No,
Probably
that's not an A.
Not a good grade.
That's a call. That's a call to psychological services.
That's a call home. Oh, fuck.
This is less an essay and more a cry for help.
Yep.
This is a manifesto, and I don't want to see what it's building towards.
Fuck. I found another one. All right, two more. Super Mario RPG is a game that can be seen as anti-capitalist. In the game, Bowser is trying to take over the world, and Mario has to stop him. This can be interpreted as capitalism versus communism. Mario represents the working class who are oppressed by Bowser's capitalist regime. The game also features an item called the Hammer, which allows Mario to break open chests and doors. This could symbolize how the working class needs to break down barriers set up by the rich in order to get what they need/want.
It's true. I mean, it's also on the hammer and sickle flag. I mean,
That's true.
say no more.
I love how it's just making up mechanics that just aren't in the game.
Don't exist. Oh, fuck.
It's a real did you do the reading check.
Exactly. All right. This is
One
the
more.
note we're going to end on, I think. Okay, let me collect myself. It's got to be a clean read. The plot of Super Mario RPG revolves around Bowser kidnapping Princess Toadstool and taking her to his castle. Mario then sets out to rescue her with the help of his friends. Throughout the course of the game, Bowser repeatedly tries to stop Mario from rescuing Toadstool, but fails each time. Fuck. This dynamic between Bowser trying to dominate Toadstool and Mario, always thwarting him, could be interpreted as an example of BDSM play. How do you feel about that one?
I used to. So we had a memoir assignment every year, and I always had to tell my students every year. I was like, "Look, you can write about what you want, but I don't want to read anything about your sex lives, you creepy little perverts."
You weirdest.
I was like, I don't want to read that. Pick something else.
You can write about whatever you want, but there's a wrong choice.
Yeah, like I'm giving you freedom. Don't abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like, when Mario was sent to die for our sins in order to repent because the Toads had sinned against God.
I think they're all great. I think that one's my favorite, though.
Oh, so
okay.
that was
we should do this more often.
Yeah, that was what I decided to spend last night doing.
Time well spent.
Yeah, just asking an AI to interpret video games through a series of extremely strange lenses. Thank you for
thank
participating.
I'm so surprised you didn't do Freud, but that's okay.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I knew I was missing a good one.
You missed Freud. You always got to do Freud because you always got to find out what the AI thinks is phallic looking.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is the Mushroom Kingdom.
Say no more.
All right, so wrapping up with that out of the way, and I think with us having thoroughly covered Super Mario RPG, any closing thoughts on this classic game, M?
I thought it was charming. I thought that it didn't overstay its welcome. It It had some kind of good gameplay every once in a while. I liked it. Nothing more to add.
Pete, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, it's. I mean, in the pantheon of cash grabs we've played, it's actually definitely one of the better ones. And like I said, I've been meaning to play it for a long time. It was worth the time we spent on it. Check it out if you want to.
Excellent. And with that, I believe it is now Pete. Once again, your turn to pick what game we play.
It is. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but Halloween is coming up.
What?
I know. And things are about to get spooky. So I picked a game that it's an older game, but it was very positively reviewed when it came out, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to have some cool stuff to say about stuff. So I want to play the 2016 classic Layers of Fear.
Ooh. All right. I have not seen I have heard that name before.
Mm-hmm.
But
this looks scary.
I know.
Layers of Fear 2016, not 2023, because there's apparently another. Oh, is this made by... Wait a second.
This is made by Bloober Team.
Bloober Team! Oh, boy!
Bloober Team's in the news lately.
They are in the news lately.
For good things or bad things?
They're working on Silent Hill.
Oh, okay. Nice. I'm topical.
That's it, right? It wasn't something else?
Oh,
okay.
So friend of the show, Jess Voidberger O'Brien, has a deep, profound disdain for the work of Bloober Team. I think specifically their work in Layers of Fear. So I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, no. Should we see if she wants to talk about it? Or will she aid us for asking?
Look, we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
I provided some of the games that she suggested we play, but instead we play a game by Bloober Team, which I feel is the most appropriate thing. Okay. Excellent. We will play Layers of Fear by Bloober Team. Rumored to be the the maker of the next Silent Hill game.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Pete, for this pick.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad it worked out even better than I had hoped.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And if you're in the position to do so, please donate to the National Network of Abortion Funds. Help out folks in the U.S. Who are in need of reproductive health care. So, till Pete, thank you.
Yeah, no problem, everybody.
Em, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, listeners. Till next time, peace.
QAnon is a conspiracy theory that began on 4chan in 2017. The theory claims that Donald Trump is secretly fighting against a deep state cabal of child trafficking pedophiles. Some believe that Super Mario RPG contains coded messages about this secret war and point to certain elements of the game as evidence. For example, one character named Gino may be based on Q, an anonymous poster on 4chan who started spreading the theories. Additionally, enemies in the game called Shy Guys have been interpreted by some as being representative of Hillary Clinton supporters due to their association with pantsuits.
Is that what Shy Guys are wearing?
I don't know. Sure.
The ability to just put absolute gibberish, it's really
combine words in any order.
It's making me really mad about freshman essays that I've had to proofread.
Yeah.
Because apparently you can just put any gibberish in there and it sounds like an essay I've read at some point. Pete, do you find that is also true?
Yeah, freshmen have never had anything useful or interesting to say about anything, ever. Myself included, when I was a freshman.
Yeah. Just out here trying to get A's and get an approval.
What if Toadstool is actually a secret mastermind who has been manipulating events from behind the scenes all along? His true intentions are anyone's guess. Of course, these are just theories. There's no concrete evidence linking any of these characters to QAnon or any other conspiracy theory. But it does make you wonder.
I'm just asking questions.
I'm just asking questions.
Have you ever seen Toadstool and Q in the same place at the same time? No. Yeah, think about it.
Wild.
Think about it.